Good morning, all of you. Ashutosh, Arya, Bhaggasri, Uday, Tanvi, Sadvika, Sadha, Kailani, Riya, Mayur. Good morning to all of you. Today we are going to continue this lesson. Silk Road, as you know, the writer is on a mission to Mount Kailash to do his course, religious, it's a ritual sort of thing and he wanted to explore also because he was an academician. He wanted to know about Manas Sarovar Lake. He wanted to know about Kailash, Mount Kailash, and at the same time he wanted to do this ritual. Therefore, he started with Saturn and Daniel, but Satan is there with him. Satan will leave him when he reaches Darchan. So let's continue from here. Hor was a green. From there we'll start. Hor, they've written. They've already reached in. You know. Hor. So Hor was a green, miserable place. There was no vegetation whatsoever, just dust and rock, liberally scattered with years of accumulated refuse, which was unfortunate given that the town sat on the shore of Lake Manasarovar. So people go there and people leave the uh, garbage and all that on the road, okay, on the way. So therefore they have made it littered with all these garbage and all waste materials, and this is what has destroyed the pristine beauty of Lake Manasarovar on the way to Lake Manasarovar, and the particular place called Ho. Tibet's most venerated means respected stretch of water. What is the most respected stretch of water? Tibet's most respected stretch of water is Lake Manas Sarovar. Okay, that is Tibet's most venerated or respected stretch of water. Ancient Hindu and Buddhist cosmology pinpoints Manas Sarovar as the source of four great Indian rivers. Manas Sarovar is the source of four great Indian rivers: the Indus, Ganges, Sutlej, and the Brahmaputra. Actually, only the Sutlej flows from the lake, but the headwaters of the others all rise nearby on the flanks of Mount Kailash. We were within striking distance of the great mountain, and I was eager to forge ahead. Okay, because they are reaching Mount Kailash very soon. It's in within the striking distance. That is why he became very much excited. So, dear students, I've got a glimpse for you. Um, Uday, Arya, good morning. So let me show you. Let me show you some visual on mm, Manas Sarovar, Lake Manas Sarovar. As you can see, dear students, in front of you. As you can see in front of you, this is Manas Sarovar. I'll show you. This is a Manas Sarovar. Okay, so you can see the beauty of this particular place, and adjacent is Mount Kailash. So the scenic beauty is so very much arresting and so very much soothing. It's a treat for the heart. It's a treat for the eyes. It's such a beautiful place, such a pristine beauty you can see here. uh, Manasarava Lake, and adjacent to this lake is Mount Kailash. You can see here Mount Kailash. So beautiful place. Okay, so that is why the writer wanted to go there. Okay, I had to wait. Satan told me to go and drink some tea in horse only cafe, which, like all other buildings in town, was constructed from badly painted concrete and had three broken windows. The good view of the lake through one of them helped to compensate for the drought. Okay, so Satan told him to go to a nearby tea stall and have some tea, because Satan was busy in fixing the punctured tires. I was served by a Chinese youth in military uniform who spread the grease around on my table with a filthy rag. Rag means piece of cloth. Before bringing me a glass and a thermos. Thermos means a flask of tea. Okay, Thermos means flask. Okay. Half an hour later, Satan relieved me from my solitary confinement because Satan and the narrator were separated for some time because Satan was busy with fixing the tires. So half an hour later, Satan joined him, and we drove past a lot more rocks and rubbish westwards out of town towards Mount Kailash. My experience in whole came as a stark contrast to accounts I had read of earlier travelers' first encounters with Lake Manas Sarovar. Okay, because see, nowadays, as the days are passing by, human beings, are becoming rich. They are becoming cultured. But on the other hand, on the other hand, you can see the values have taken a back seat. On the other hand, you can see the aesthetic sense of human beings in public places. Mm, seems to have taken a back seat. Okay, they do not follow certain norms. Okay, that is why as days are passing by, as days are going, Lake Manasarovar and its neighboring areas on the way to Ho, on the way to Mount Kailash, the roads have become very much littered with lots of refuse, or you can say garbage, that people tend to throw while they go high up, okay, to pay visit to Lake Manasarovar, or might be to Mount Kailash. So that is why the writer is saying his experience has come as a stark contrast to accounts that he had read on books. Okay, books earlier, say 30 years, 40 years before. People did not, Manas Sarovar was in its more pristine form. Now, as days are going, days are passing, okay, they are becoming polluted, or you can say littered with all this environmental hazard has taken place. Anyway, Ekai Kawaguchi, a Japanese monk who had arrived there in 1900, was so moved by the sanctity of the lake that he burst into tears. Okay, so sanctity means the purity. Sanctity means purity of the lake. That he burst into tears. Who was that? He was a Japanese monk by seeing Manas Sarovar and Mount Kailash together. A couple of years later, the hallowed means sacred, really sacred, okay, pure waters had a similar effect on Sven. It is called seven heading. Okay, seven heading means he was a Swedish geographer, topographer, explorer, photographer. Okay, who also visited there. He is from Sweden. Who wasn't prone to sentimental outburst. Okay, it means he did not become so much sentimental or emotional. Even sentimental outburst means emotional outburst or emotional reaction. So Seven Heading was not as emotional, of course, in his words as Ikai Kawaguchi, a Japanese monk, after seeing Manas Sarovar, but he too appreciated it. He too liked this the view of Manas Sarovar. It was okay. View of Manas Sarovar. Mm, okay. Good afternoon, Prabhash, Alma, Swati, Saiba, all of you. Good afternoon. As you can see here, it was dark by the time we finally left again, and after 10:30 p.m. we drew up outside a guest house in Darchan for what turned out to be another troubled night. Okay, so around 10:30 they reached Darchan. Okay, at night they reached Darchan, where they had to stay in a guest house. But that night was a troublesome night for him. Kicking around in the open air rubbish dump that passed for the town of Ho had set off my cold once more. Though, if truth be told, it had never quite disappeared with my herbal tea. With his herbal tea, also, after taking the tea, also, his condition of, unpleasant condition did not go off, because number one, he reached a bit late there in Darchan. Okay, um, and then there's a sharp contrasting climate also, because as you go high up, the temperature goes down, so there's a stark contrast of temperature, and that is what might have affected his health. Okay, so what is the problem with him? One of his nostrils was blocked again and he lay down to sleep. I wasn't convinced that the other would provide me with sufficient oxygen. One of the nostrils is blocked, another is also likely to be blocked, so he was not confident of the another nostril which was as of you know which was till that time providing him with oxygen, of course, but he was not very much confident of the other nostril also. My watch told me that I was 4760 meters. It wasn't much higher than Ravu, and there I had been gasping for oxygen several times every night. Okay, um, because of high altitude. I had grown accustomed to these nocturnal disturbances. Nocturnal means night. Okay, something that happens in night is called nocturnal. Okay, related to night. So the writer is saying I had grown accustomed means I had grown used to nocturnal means these nightly disturbances. And what are the nightly disturbances? Like he's not able to sleep properly. He was having cold. His nose has become, nostrils have become blocked. He was not able to take breath properly. So these are the nocturnal disturbances. Tired and hungry, I started breathing through my mouth because his nostrils have become blocked. So he was breathing through mouth. Okay, he was breathing through mouth. He was breathing to mouth, and after a while I switched to single nostril power, which seemed to be admitting enough oxygen. But just as I was drifting off, I woke up abruptly. Tired and hungry, I started breathing through my mouth. After a while, I switched to single nostril power, which seemed to be admitting enough oxygen. But just as I was drifting off, I woke up abruptly. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong. What was wrong? My chest felt strangely heavy, and I set up a movement that cleared my nasal passages almost instantly and relieved the feeling in my chest. Curious, I thought. So his condition after some time improved. I lay back down and tried again. Same result. I was on the point of disappearing into the land of Nod when something told me not to. Okay, he was about to go to sleep, but he could not sleep. Why? It must have been those emergency electrical impulses again. But this was not the same as on previous occasion. This time I wasn't gasping for breath. I was simply not allowed to go to sleep. Even though his cold condition has improved, but still he has taken leave of his sleep. He was not able to sleep, even though he was not gasping for breath, even though he was not feeling so very much out of breath. He was not feeling out of breath, but it was quite normal. The breathing was normal. In spite of that, somehow he couldn't manage to get sleep. Sitting up once more immediately made me feel better. I could breathe freely and my chest felt fine. But as soon as I lay down, my sinuses filled and my chest was odd. I tried propping myself upright against the wall, but now I couldn't manage to relax enough to drop off. I could not put my finger on the reason, but I was afraid to go to sleep. A little voice inside me was saying that if I did, I might never wake up again. So I stayed awake all night. Okay, so that is psychological fear actually. He thought if he could go to sleep somehow, then he will not woke up. Therefore, he kept himself uh, awake all throughout the night. Okay. Satan took me to the Darchen Medical College. Satan, the driver, he took him to the Darchen Medical College the following morning. The medical college at Darchen was new and looked like a monastery from the outside with a solid door that led into a large courtyard. We found the consulting room, which was dark and cold and occupied by a Tibetan doctor who wore none of the paraphernalia that I had been expecting. Okay, paraphernalia means the doctor's gown, then doctor's stethoscope and all this. Okay, so doctor was very simple, might be in civil dress. He was not wearing any of the paraphernalia that the narrator was expecting. No white coat, see, no white coat. He looked like any other Tibetan with a thick pullover and a woolly hat. When I explained my sleepless symptoms, when I explained my sleepless symptoms and my sudden aversion to lying down, he shot me a few questions while filling the veins in my wrist. Okay, so when he came to know about his condition, he was examining his nerve and all that, and then he asked me certain questions, and then he said it's cold. He said finally through Saturn he a cold and the effects of altitude. Okay, it's because of cold and effects of altitude it happened. I will give you something for it. Okay, then he has given some medicine to him. Okay, to him. I asked him if he thought I would recover enough to be able to do the Quora. Oh yes, he said, you will be fine. You will be fine, he said. Okay, so I walked out of the medical college, Darchin Medical College. Satan and the narrator both came out, clutching a brown envelope, because inside which there was prescription and all this medicine, I suppose. Brown envelope stuffed with 15 screws of paper. I had 5-day course of Tibetan medicine. 5-day course was there, which started right away. I opened an after breakfast package and found it contained a brown powder that I had to take with hot water. It tasted just like cinnamon. Cinnamon means it's a cinnamon. I have a picture with you. I can show you so that you are able to understand. Is it there? No, I think it's not there. Somewhere it's. Okay, it is there somewhere. It's not here. Okay, anyway. So it is like some kind of spice to give taste, to add taste to the food. Okay, so the medicine sort of tasted like cinnamon. The contents of the lunchtime and bedtime packages were less obviously identifiable. Both contained small spherical brown pellets. Okay, the medicine is talking about and how this medicine tastes and how the medicine looks. All this. Okay, this is what is describing here. They look suspiciously like sheep dung, but of course I took them. That night after my first full day's course, I slept very soundly, like a log, not a dead man. Okay, so he said after he took the medicine which was given by the doctor from Darchan Medical College, he felt much better, he felt much relieved, and that night he was able to sleep properly. Okay, that's it. Once he saw that I was going to leave, Satan left me. Once he saw that I was going to leave, means once the condition of the author, the condition of the narrator improved, Satan left him. Okay, Satan left him. Satan left him to return to Lhasa. Okay, he went to Lhasa. As a Buddhist, he told me he knew that it did not really matter if I passed away, but he thought it would be bad for business. Okay, so what is the meaning of this? Let me explain you, dear students. Satan, before he left, he just made a humorous comment, okay, statement. He said that as the narrator was in the town, in a religious place, okay, like Darchan, it's a very religious place. Um, so Satan thought that in such a religious place, if the narrator even and the narrator died even, it would not make much of difference. It's something which is holy or sacred for the narrator, because in such a it's a privilege to die in such a sacred place, such a pristine place. Understood? But Satan said it is a loss for it is bad for business for him. Why? Because he is a we can say travel guide come driver. So if in his care, if in his supervision, if under his supervision the narrator dies, then it's a loss for him. Why loss for him? Because it might affect his business. Okay, business of being a tourist guide and driver. Okay, therefore he made just a passing comment. Okay, saying that if you die in such places, it's good for you. It doesn't matter, it's good because it's such a religious and sacred place. And but it's a loss for me insofar as my business is concerned, because people might not come to me for or people might not extract my service as tourist guide and driver. So therefore it's a loss for me. Darchen did not look so horrible after a good night's sleep. Darchen did not look so horrible after a good night's sleep. It was still dusty, partially derelict, and punctuated by heaps of rubble and refuse. Okay, as I told you, the pilgrims who come, they live here and there, all these things, so it becomes dirty. It has become dirty nowadays. Okay, but the sun shone brilliantly in a clear blue sky, and the outlook across the plain to the south gave me a vision of the Himalayas, commanded by a huge snow capped mountain, Gurla Mandata, with just a wisp of clouds suspended over its summit. Because, see, it's a hilly place, so beautiful. Yes, Mayur, and I understand it's buffering. Today, our fiber connectivity connection is down, so that is why we had to take recourse to another connection, another backup connection, which is not as fast as the fiber connection. So that is why sometimes you might feel some buffering. Anyway, I hope it's working now. It's working now. Okay, so Arya, can I continue now? Please say. Can you hear me now? Okay, thank you. It's not buffering from my end now, so I can continue. Okay, so the town had a couple of rudimentary means basic. The town had a couple of basic general stores selling Chinese cigarettes, soap, and other basic provisions, as well as the usual strings of prayer flags. In front of one, men gathered in the afternoon for a game of pool, the battered table looking supremely incongruous. Incongruous means not unsuitable, not related. Or incongruous means something which is not matching, unsuitable, in the open air, while nearby women washed their long hair in the icy water of a narrow brook that babbled down. Brook means small river, okay? Very small river. So here the writer is describing about the Darchan town. What are the things which are there in this town? Okay, and matching, like in front of one man gathered in the afternoon for a game of pool. The battered table, battered table. The table is dilapidated or not in good condition, looking supremely incongruous in the open air, while nearby women washed their long hair in the icy water of narrow brook that babbled down past my guest house. Darchan felt relaxed and unhurried, but for me it came with a significant drawback. There were no pilgrims. Okay, so dear students, let me tell you. Let me tell you, dear students. Here you can see, the narrator come to Darchan for this particular for a religious rite that is called Kora. So, but he has come a bit early actually. Okay, therefore there are no pilgrims around. Okay, Darchan, and Darchan appears to be very much empty now, and Darchan is having only the local people particular place. Okay, therefore it appears to be very it's like almost empty. Okay, because population is very thin there. Okay, population is heavy there. Okay, so therefore, as it is not a visitors pilgrims season now, the narrator has come a bit early to Darchan to be empty for the narrator. That is why he said Darchan appears to be relaxed and unhurried. Unhurried means there is no rush. There is no rush. Okay, it can drawback. Why? Because there were no pilgrims. Okay, and Satan is also left. Therefore, he doesn't have anyone to communicate to there because they don't know English, and the writer is an Englishman. So, and the local people do not know English. Therefore, Satan, who is to know a little bit of English could help him out. Okay, because Satan was a Tibetan, so he knew the local language. But the narrator is alone now, therefore it will be problem for him to communicate. Let's find out. I had been told that at the height of the pilgrimage season, the town was bursting with visitors. The town was bursting with visitors at the height of pilgrimage season. Many brought their own accommodation. Okay, when there is a season, the peak of the season, what happens? Many visitors bring their accommodation also, enlarging the settlement around the its edges as they set up their tents which spill down to the plain. Okay, so visitors from different places they come with their accommodation materials also. Okay, um, materials also. I timed my arrival for the beginning of the season, but it seemed I was too early. Okay, so I had timed my arrival for the beginning of the season, but it seemed I was too early. So he came to Darchen, he says, too early. Okay. So one afternoon, I sat pondering my options over a glass of tea in Darchen's only cafe. After a little consideration, I concluded they were severely limited. Why? Because clearly I hadn't made much progress with my self help program on positive thinking. He was feeling very, very lonely. Okay, lonely. So that is why when there is nobody around, he's feeling a bit lonely. Let's find out. In my defense, it hadn't been easy with all my sleeping difficulties, but however I looked at it, I could only wait. The pilgrimage trail was well trodden, but I did not fancy doing it alone. He was not supposed to mount or, he was not in a position to sort of go for climbing. Okay, the Kora was seasonal because parts of the route were liable to blockage by snow. I had no idea whether or not the snow had cleared, but I wasn't encouraged by the chunks of dirty ice that still clung to the banks of Dutchen's brook. Since Satan had left, I hadn't come across anyone in Dutchen with enough English to answer even this most basic question. Okay, so he had some basic question in his mind which nobody could answer because Satan is left and there's local people don't understand English. Okay, so he wanted to ask whether or not the snow had cleared, whether he can start his uphill journey once again for the Kora because he is yet to reach his final destination. Okay, but I wasn't encouraged by the chunks of dirty ice. Okay, but ice was all around, so he was not sure whether it is the right time for him to sort of progress with his journey until that is I met Norbu. Okay, another character has come now. He has met somebody called Norbu. The cafe was small, dark, and cavernous, with a long metal stove that ran down the middle. The walls and ceiling were wreathed in sheets of multicolored plastic of the striped variety, broad blue and white, that is made into stout, voluminous shopping bags sold over China and in many other countries of Asia as well as Europe. It means, dear students, here he says about a cafe. Okay, the structure of the cafe, how was it made, all plastics all around. He's describing about the cafe where he has met another character called Norbu. But Norbu is a Chinese, you can say, academician. He's a lecturer, and he knows a bit of English. Therefore, the writer will have no problem now in communicating in English because he has met Narbu, who is Chinese academician, but he knows English. Okay, so now Norbu has also come for doing the Kora. So therefore, the writer has got another company in the form of Narbu. Both of them will be going together up the mountain and they will do the Kora together. So henceforth, now onwards, the writer will have no problem because he has met another companion called, his name is Norbu. Okay, as such, plastic master. Okay, and here it is said that the plastic was China's most successful export item. Okay, along the Silk Road. Okay, today. So dear students, I shall certainly finish it in my next class. Okay. or only few, no, let me finish it now, only few lines are left. Okay. Okay, so the cafe had a single window beside the description of the cafe here. The cafe had a single window beside which I had taken up position so that I could see the pages of my notebook. I had also brought a novel with me to help pass the time. Norbu saw my book when he came in and asked with a gesture if he could sit opposite to me at my rickety table. Rickety means weak table at that cafe. You English, because he was reading an English novel. Norbu could see from distance and he came forward to talk to him. You English, he inquired after he had ordered tea. I told him I was, and we struck up conversation. I did not think he was from those parts because he was wearing a wind cheater. Okay, he was wearing a wind cheater and metal rimmed spectacles of Western style. He was Tibetan, he told me, but worked in Beijing at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences. He was a Tibetan, but he worked in Beijing at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences in the Institute of Ethnic Literature. I assumed he was on some sort of field work. Yes and no. He said yes, sometimes no. I have come to do the Kora. Norbu said, I have come to do the Kora. My heart jumped. Norbu had been writing academic papers about the Kailash Kora and its importance in various works of Buddhist literature for many years. He told me, but he had never actually done it himself. So Norbu introduced himself saying that he is doing a research, and he had been writing academic papers also about the Kailash Kora, okay, and its importance in Buddhist life, Buddhist literature. But he himself did not do Kora yet. That is why he has come to do it. Okay, he has done research on it. He has written academic papers also on Kora, Kailash Kora, but he had not done any sort of Kora himself. That is why he has come this time to complete his Kora. When the time came for me to tell him what brought me to Darshan, his eyes lit up. We could be a team, he said. When Norba came to know that the writer wanted to do the research as well, for his research only, the writer also came here. Then, Norbu became very much happy and he said, then we can team up, we can come together and we can do the research jointly. He said excitedly, two academics who have escaped from the library. Perhaps my positive thinking strategy was working after all. Okay, his positive thinking strategy was working. Now, my initial relief at meeting Norbu, who was also staying in the guest house, was tempered by the realization that he was almost as ill-equipped as I was for the pilgrimage. Both of them did not bring much of things with them. Okay, he kept telling me how fat he was and how hard it was going to be. Very high up, he kept reminding me. High up means high in the mountain. So tiresome to work. He wasn't really a practicing Buddhist. It transpired. Okay, he wasn't a practicing Buddhist. He had enthusiasm and he was of course Tibetan. Okay, he was not a Buddhist from the core of his heart. Okay, he was a Tibetan and he was an academician and he did not do much of religious practice. Okay. Although I had originally envisaged means I had guessed, making the trek in the company of devout believers, on reflection, I decided that perhaps Norbu would turn out to be an ideal companion. He suggested we hire some yaks to carry out luggage, which I interpreted as a good sign, and he had no intention of prostrating himself. Prostrating means to do pranam, okay? Prostrating himself all round the mountain. Not possible, he cried, collapsing across the table in hysterical laughter. Okay, it wasn't his style anyway. His tummy was too big. So he was a very fat man. That is why he said that prostrating as a religious rite or as a religious practice is not possible for me because I am so fat. Okay, and then they were just laughing with each other. Okay, laughing with one another when they were talking. And Norbu said that he is too big to prostrate to practice that religious some of the religious practices. Okay, so that's how the story comes to an end. And the writer himself is an academician, researcher, and he met Norbu towards the end of his journey. Therefore, together they will do the Koda and together they will make research. And the narrator felt very happy that he got across another scholastic person, okay, like him. So anyway, dear students, in my next class I shall discuss about a little bit of silk road, and the importance of kora, why the Buddhist people went for kora and all that. Okay, so till we meet in our next classes, dear students, let's wind up now. Thank you, dear students. We shall meet in the next class. Bye bye, take care, and have a nice day. Thank you, Pravash, and others who have been with me all throughout. Thank you so much. We'll meet in our next class.